Hi knitters. So I wanted to show you the English method of knitting. Now, sometimes what happens is the yarn can tend to be a little bit different in texture, and it becomes sometimes a little bit different feeling on your fingers. So if you're used to knitting the English method way, sometimes it can feel a little different with how you're knitting with the yarns, maybe a little stiff, maybe the yarn's a little lighter. And so you want to be able to work it how you feel comfortable. So I have two methods to show you how to do for the English method. And the way I do it is the first way, but then sometimes if my hands feel a little tired because the yarn is so thin, like this yarn right here is like, it may not look thin, but it has a little bit, it slides a little differently, and it almost has a silk to it. So sometimes what happens is when I'm knitting, I don't feel like I'm getting the tension I properly want, how I knit normally. So it feels different. So if you're knitting with different yarns and different textures, you can understand a little bit about how the yarn works and how you hold it and how your hand feels. So let me show you a tutorial of how I do it both ways, but I'm still using the English method. All right, let's get started. All right, so I am using bamboo knitting needles, and sometimes the knitting needles make a difference too on how you work your stitches also too. It all depends on your tension, how you're comfortable, and how you'd like to do it. But this is one suggestion if you can relate to how the yarn texture works, and if you were wondering how to make it a little easier. All right. So as you can see, this yarn has like a puffy, and it kind of expands a little bit. And when you're pulling it, see how it pulls back. So this is a little lighter in feel. So what you're doing is to do the English method, okay? I usually just grab like this, and I want to make sure my tension all the way through, as you can see, looks like this, how the garter stitch is all securely, nicely together. So what I'm going to do is, this is how I do it. Go around, put your knitting needle through, okay? I usually use these fingers to control the tension also too on the stitches. So as I work it, I see how I have my fingers, and you can place your fingers however you feel comfortable. This is how I do it. And what I'll do is I'll move this stitch up a little bit to go a little faster, but make sure it doesn't fall off as you're doing that. And then you just go ahead and you continuously knit. So what you're doing, you're just wrapping it around the knitting needles, and you continually move, and you keep going all the way across. Be sure your tension is accurate as you work it, and you just keep going. Okay. And as I move this, I can tell that my tension is going the way I want it. Okay. And I just keep wrapping it around the knitting needle, wrapping it around the knitting needle. And now as I'm working it, this is how I'm holding it for my tension. Okay. So as I'm working it, my pinky is what's helping with my tension right now. So as I'm working it, that's where my tension's coming in. So it's not, sliding like this. So if I was to just kind of, so how I'm working it for this particular yarn, because it has a different feel and it slides a little more, I'm working it like this. And I keep working it. All the way across to make sure my tension matches. Okay. Now, if my hand feels a little different, like as I start to work with this yarn, sometimes my hand feels a little different. So I want to change up the pattern, change up the style, the technique a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go like this. I'm just going to wrap it around the index finger, your pointing finger, and I'm just going to hold it up for my tension as I'm grabbing, and I'm just going to continue to go, wrapping it around, moving my stitches up but not to fall off. And I'm going to continue using this method all the way across. You just wrap it around, let the yarn slide at a decent tension, not too loose, not too tight. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to keep working it like this. And as I move, I slightly move my baby finger up a bit so that the tension isn't so tight. Okay? So I'm just going to keep moving it. And it's all about the tension on how you work your hands and how you're holding it. That's what helps maintain your tension, is how the techniques of keeping the yarn. See how it's not too loose, but it's not too tight. I still have a little bit of a give. And when to let go a little bit as you're moving along so you don't have it so tight. And this gives a different form and feel. And I feel like I have a lot more control with the silkier feel of the yarn. And I can move it a little bit faster this way. And I feel like it's decently going smooth and it matches my tension from the other way for the English method. And this is a garter stitch I'm working on. So those are two different ways you can do the English method, and it's all up to you how you feel, what size knitting needles you use, it comparatively, how you use it. It's just all up to you, and you knit how you feel comfortable with. All right, everyone, thank you for watching, and if you like what you see, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone. Happy knitting!